slow activation. That's all I said. Sorry, that's what I meant. Please. That's all.
But I answered with the understanding that that's probably what happened. And I said, but I will get back to you with some of the details that we're thinking, but there are things that we've already communicated about later. Yeah.
Yeah. I know.
Oh, the two. Sorry.
Yes. Well, yes,
Okay.
but I need to get you fixed because the mower is already.
Well, I guess I did not know.
Yeah, so what I mean by that, we're feeling what some of that road would have been now and get some of the thing, but what she's doing. So it doesn't make sense to get to be for that because what you have done, that person can't do this. It's not even her. You see what I'm saying? So, hey. That's what I want to talk through and work through because then it would be reinforcing what is not going to happen. So when we get feedback, we can decide what the right action is. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
But I don't want to give this for that because they're not the same. That's what I'm saying.
Like I understand.
Yeah. Got your confirmation and email. Yeah.
Hello and welcome. It is now 6:02 p.m. and I'm calling to order this regular board meeting of the Sunny School District Board of Education. This meeting is available in English and Spanish. Is the translator here?
Yes.
Great. Would the translator please give instruction on translation services available?
Yes, of course. Good afternoon. Today's meeting will be interpreted using Zoom's interpretation function. Once the host has activated the interpretation function, please choose the language you prefer by clicking on the globe on the toolbar located at the bottom of the screen and clicking on the language of your choice. The method of interpretation will be simultaneous. Thank you. I will now repeat the instructions in Spanish. Buenas tardes a todos. Esta reunión se interpretará usando la función de interpretación de Zoom. Cuando el anfitrión active la función de interpretación, por favor, escoja el lenguaje de su preferencia haciendo clic en el icono del globo terráqueo que aparece en la barra de herramientas en la parte inferior de la pantalla y haciendo clic en el idioma correspondiente. Muchas gracias.
Thank you. I see that all board members are present, so welcome. And we can begin. Let's go on to item 1B, which is the Pledge of Allegiance. Please rise and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, and just as a note to anyone watching from home, today's date is August 7th and not August 13th as described on the screen. We're on to item 1C, which is our living land acknowledgement, and I'd like to invite trustee Peggy Shen Brewster to please read the living land acknowledgement.
Sunnyvale School District is located on ancestral and unceded land of the Muwekma Ohlone tribe, who have peacefully honored and cared for this land for thousands of years. We recognize that every member of the Sunnyvale community continues to benefit from the use and occupation of this land. We acknowledge our responsibility to learn from the wisdom of the Ohlone people and to consider how we might work to repair injustices and to move forward together in honorable ways.
Thank you, trustee Shen Brewster. Item 2 is the approval of the agenda. If there's any member of the public who wishes to speak on this item, which is solely about the agenda, please either present a card to the executive assistant in the back or use the raised hand feature. Okay, seeing none. Board, do we have a motion to approve tonight's agenda?
I have a quick question. If everybody's here for the Cherry Chase, is there a chance we want to move that ahead of closed session?
Sure. I'm open to that.
Is everybody who's gonna be here for Cherry Chase here?
Think so.
Okay, I move we approve the agenda with the amendment of moving, what is the item number?
We'll move, starting with items 3 and 4, we'll move closed session to after item 15, which is the end. To the end of the meeting, or do you want
No.
or just move it to
No,
after Cherry Chase?
Yeah, so we're just doing the Cherry Chase first and then we're going to, and then we'll close session and then everything else in order.
Okay, so that's number 6.
So number 6 will go first and then we'll do everything else in the order it is set. That's my motion.
Okay, do we have a second?
I second that.
Thank you. All those in favor, please say aye. Chair votes aye and the motion passes. Thank you. Okay, so we are on to item 6, the board recognition. Dr. Crosspoint.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Buenas tardes. If we go to slide 16, please, and I want to defer to our chief teaching and learning officer, Dr. Dean, for his recognition.
Are you not seeing?
No, I just wanted to be sure who has the items before I start.
Is that this?
Okay, very good. Well, thanks for being here this evening. We really are happy to see each and every one of you. It gives me great honor to recognize Cherry Chase Elementary School this evening as a distinguished school. Cherry Chase sets a stellar example for our district, not only in academic achievement, but in building a welcoming and joy-filled community. This year, 82% of Cherry Chase students scored at or above proficient in math and reading, a testament to their commitment to excellence. But beyond the numbers, Cherry Chase is distinguished by the spirit of inclusivity and pride that runs through its halls, from the annual Lunar New Year celebration to active volunteerism amongst family and staff. The school's vision of developing lifelong learners in a safe and nurturing environment inspires us all. With strong academics, robust enrichment programs in art, music, and science, and a focus on well-being, Cherry Chase truly embodies what it means to be a distinguished school. On behalf of the Board of Education and the entire Sunnyvale School District, congratulations to Cherry Chase students, staff, and families. Your hard work and community spirit make us proud, and we're grateful for your remarkable contributions. We have a presentation at this time that we want to present, and we would like Ms. Mashran to come forward and be recognized for your excellence and leadership of Cherry Chase Elementary School.
Oh,
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah. And you want to get your staff and families up there too?
Yes, please, come on.
This is
You came.
this is a team effort here.
Yes, come on.
Give it to them.
Oh my God, this is beautiful. Thank you, thank you.
Could we move this? Is that okay? Is this wireless?
I don't know. You can move it.
It is plugged in.
Okay, yeah, we won't. All right.
Sorry.
Daniela, you wanna hold one of them? Kristen, come on.
Come on over.
Come on. Venga. Vengan acá. Conmigo, vengan. Yeah.
Alright, everybody's taking photos of you guys, big smiles. Congratulations, guys. Super cool. Well done.
Cherry Chase.
Thank you. Thank you. Just come and sit here.
Is that the institution? Okay. Okay, so, with that, thank you very much. We're so excited for Cherry Chase. Board, did anyone want to make any comments before we move on to the next item? So my kids went to school at Cherry Chase, both my kids, and I've volunteered there on and off over the last 20 years. And it's just an amazing school with wonderful teachers and wonderful families, and it was really inspired me to become a teacher and become a board member. So for those of you who are parents out there and really loving the school and loving the district, you know, get ready, your future is up here. There will be a job here for you one day. But we just really, it is the whole community working together, and I'm just so thrilled for you all. You really deserve the recognition, and just so thrilled for all the work you did. So it didn't happen just with no effort at all, right? Like it took a ton of effort and time. So I just hope you're all really proud of yourselves and have a great year ahead. So thank you. Anyone else or? Nope. Okay, well, thank you so much. We are gonna move on to our next agenda item, which is convening to close session. So, we will be discussing, item for 4A is public employee, performance, the superintendent evaluation, and government code 54957. And thank you all for coming. Is there any public comment for closed session items?
Madam President, there are no public comments for the closed session.
Excellent. Okay, so with that, board, it is now 6:12 and we are gonna convene to closed session. We plan to be back in the boardroom no later than 7 p.m. Okay, thank you.
Good night, Michelle. I know. We're gonna do it.
Brain center.
Okay. Thank you. Hello and welcome back. It is 7:02. Thank you for your patience. It's picture day, so we are getting organized for our school year ahead. We are on item number 5. We just reconvened to open session at 7:02 p.m. Once again, this meeting is available in English and Spanish. If you're at home and you would like to listen to the meeting in Spanish, you can go to the lower toolbar and choose the globe icon and choose the language of your preference. For those of you joining now, please note that a recording is being made at the direction of the board and that the recording may capture sounds of those attending the meeting. The board met in closed session to discuss superintendent evaluation process. That is it. We are on to item number 7 because we already did item 6 prior to closed session. So we're on to comments from the board and superintendent. We're going to start today with trustee Peggy Shen Brewster.
Hello, I've had a really enjoyable past month. One of the highlights was attending the summer school, touring the summer schools at Ellis Elementary and Columbia Middle School. I really appreciate Dr. Valentine taking us around, having a schedule of all the different classes that we can attend and seeing all the great work that's being done. I want to share this one moment that I feel like I've shared many times with people individually, but there was a moment where we were in a classroom, I believe they were rising 3rd graders, and all the kids were lining up for recess. And I noticed that Dr. Crosswaith had noticed that there was a kid that had put on an LA Dodgers cap, and he kind of gave him a fist bump or high five and said something in Spanish. I think that was like, right on, man, like that's the right team to root for, right? and then we stood around in that hallway and we're just having conversation amongst ourselves as adults. But I saw him standing in line, he was first in line, and he was completely starstruck, right? To have the big man, like the superintendent, talking to him in Spanish. He was a newcomer, and I just saw in his eyes just this awe and this admiration, and he saw himself in you, and I thought that was just so wonderful, and that moment really stood out to me, and that's something I wanted to share with everyone else. Thank you. I'm going to send in our all the different events and stuff. I think that's what we've been doing. We'll continue doing that? Okay.
Yeah, that is a great way to save time, but still share.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We can go down the line, thanks.
Don't have a whole lot. Summer had lots of things going on, and it was really a great summer. And I'm doing so for those who this will be new to UDL, but I always kind of laugh why am I on a school board, because when school year starts I'm always a little bit grumpy because I love summertime. But I worked really hard this year to be less grumpy, and I also was instead of having the last few weeks of my summer being grumpy about school starting, I'm gonna wait till the day before school starts. And I actually double checked with my son too, because he was feeling grumpy when we came back from our trip, and he was like, school starts next week. You actually have 4 more weeks, and I was like, you can be grumpy now, or you can just have a good time. And then the day before school, you can choose to be grumpy, and then school will be fine. Anyway, so that was just kind of a funny little thing. And then I think you guys know that my oldest is graduating high school, and so in 2.5 weeks, we're sending him off to school out in Utah. So that will be a big new different thing. So also I'm just enjoying the last few weeks with him. So really that's what I'm actually more grumpy about is come Monday, Labor Day, when I'm driving home from Utah, leaving my kid. That's gonna be the sad part.
So, well, this summer we still got to travel as a family, which was great, even though Gabriel is already in college. But he somehow this summer worked out for everybody going together for a family trip. So that was very nice. Enjoyed. I don't know if next year it's gonna work out for everybody. They already have plans, different plans, so we'll see. So still one more year to enjoy the boys. During this summer, we got the CLSBA retreat, which was a whole weekend. I'm gonna send my activities, some of them. There was a very interesting seminar given by CLSBA referring to equity in math and math for Spanish speakers, so it was very interesting. I will bring the material to our superintendent, although I think that he already knows everything that was given there. He knows the person who was giving the class. I really enjoyed yesterday the opening of the new building at SMS. I am really appreciative of all the celebrations we have been having, and it was a great celebration. And I really enjoyed the open house for summer school. So that was also a great event. I got to see a lot of what was going on during summer school. And yeah, I wish that we could replicate and make even bigger every year, and get as many students as we can. And hopefully we can afford to have more and more students every year. So yeah, that's here for the beginning of the year. Thank you.
Hi, I can't believe we're here for our first board meeting. It feels like the summer flew by. I was really busy this summer for my third daughter's graduation, and turning 18, we had a big cotillion debut, similar to a quinceañera. So we had adopted almost 18 kids, practicing the waltz and cha-cha and hula, my daughter and her 3 sisters. And so that's finally behind us, and all the kids miss coming over, so they're still coming over and hanging out. So that was fun. We've had a couple of camping trips with our family, my side and my husband's side, so that was also fun. And I'm, like Michelle, preparing for my first to fly. My second one's moving to Hawaii for her transfer to college. So I'll be crying like a baby behind her back. I probably will just be crying all over the place, but she'll do great. Like Peggy said, it was really fun to go to Columbia and Ellis to see the campuses and to see the summer school programs. It's amazing how the kids have so much fun learning and doing what they're doing in the classrooms. And yesterday, I was able to attend the ribbon cutting ceremony at SMS too, and that's a beautiful building. And I went with my daughter who's gonna be in 5th grade, and she was like, I like this school. So she was excited about the school too. And I ran into one of the teachers at the mall, and she is transferring to SMS. So she's excited she'll be in that building. Great job to all the hard workers and all the kids and all the families that help just bring all the ideas and make it happen. It's really awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. Yep, for me, same thing. Did a lot of the same things that everyone here is talking about. And also, yeah, I think the ribbon cutting for me was similar to this was the first year that I went to the summer school open houses as well as the tour. And the open houses were, there was some things like living wax museums and a little play and some other things where the kids were really showcasing kind of the culmination of their experiences. So I really enjoyed that. And then also just that ribbon cutting just was one of those ways to just celebrate all the hard work that went into it, from the facilities master plan all those planning meetings, just all the behind the scenes work and everyone's ideas coming together, and then the community who went door to door. Never forget the kids pulling the wagon and asking people to put signs in their yard to support our bond measure, to pay for SMS, and how important it was, and some of the really little kids with their families. So yeah, it was just real community effort and support of public education, and I was excited about that, and I'm also very excited about the school year with Dr. Crossway and just welcoming him to the district. So I'm really looking forward to the year ahead. So Dr. Crossway.
All right, so my turn. All right, so good evening, everyone. I'm so excited to be here at our first official regular board meeting. And I can't thank you enough for this opportunity to be here in Sunnyvale School District, an amazing district in a deeply caring community. I'm grateful for everyone that's come by and said hello and welcomed me, and just excited about the year ahead as well. If we go on to the next slide, I want to just take a brief moment to briefly introduce myself and tell you a little bit about like who am I, right? So I have over 30 years now in education, in public education, and that's a picture from yesterday's ribbon cutting ceremony. Let's go on to the next slide. But just to share a little bit about me, so that's a picture of my mom and I. And so my mom has a 2nd grade education. My dad started 5th grade. And so they don't have a strong formal education. The picture on the right there is myself right there in the front, the big head right there, that's me with the big hair. And then those are my siblings and some of my cousins who actually eventually ended up moving to Portland, Oregon. But we grew up, very humble. Again, my parents had a very limited formal education. My parents were undocumented. My first language is Spanish. I was that kid who didn't necessarily do well in school, got into a little bit of trouble, got sent to the front office a lot. And I just felt like school didn't connect to me. It wasn't relevant to me, it didn't speak to me, it didn't acknowledge my background, my culture, my language. And so it just wasn't something that was important to me. Let's go next slide. But eventually I was able to figure it out, but I also wanted to share a picture of my family. That's my wife and our son Noel and our daughter Nalene. He's going back, actually he's on a flight right now, I think. He should be on a flight right now. I hope he's on a flight right now. Back to Portland because he's gonna be starting his 3rd year, and our daughter just started her first class in graduate school yesterday. So very excited about that. And we can go on to the next slide, please. And so here's just a little bit of my academic journey. So I start off with the high school diploma that I got to because it was a school that had limited resources. Not a lot of us had the opportunity to continue our education beyond high school. But I was one of those fortunate students who had that opportunity. I ended up going to UCLA, got my degree in sociology. And then from there, I started teaching, and honestly, I wasn't ready. I started teaching at the middle school. I continued my master's education at the Harvard Graduate School of Education, and I won't read everything else there, but that's just my educational journey. But my mom would always tell me in Spanish, no creas que estás educado, because you went to school. Basically, like, don't think because you have all these degrees and titles or whatever that you're educated, right? Like, I was your first teacher at home, and I'm the one that made sure that you got the proper education. So I always give credit to her as well. She did a great job as a single parent. And let's go to the next slide. And so just a little bit about my professional journey in public education. So I started off as a middle school teacher, taught English, social studies, ELD, and then I became a high school 9th grade, predominantly a 9th grade English teacher. But with that, I became a director of K-8 and then deputy superintendent. So I did the roles for 3 and 4 years. And then most recently, I served as a superintendent for the last 8 years in Linwood Unified, and just a great community, and grateful for everything that they gave me so that I can continue doing the good work here in Sunnyvale. And next slide, please. So why am I here? And these are my values. And I'll tell you is that, the reason I'm here is because the values of Sunnyvale School District really resonated with me in terms of equity, knowing every kid by name, strength, and need, and just the push for equity and making sure that we do right by all kids. And so here you can see my values in terms of what I believe and what resonates with me. And so this is why I'm here as a public servant, is because I want to make sure that we make an impact and that we're able to give all kids hope for them to dream big and to know that they can do whatever they want to do with the proper support systems. And so I also want to just share with you that in my almost 5 weeks here, I've had about 50 one-to-one meetings. I've had the opportunity I want to acknowledge our executive team here who have welcomed me and put up with a lot of my questions as well. And so grateful to them for their support. But I met with the association presidents, with the teachers union, as well as a classified union. Had a chance to meet with Rotary, attend the meet with the Sunnyvale Education Foundation, the mayor, who seems to be everywhere. And of course, we go to the next slide. We also had our leadership retreat. So here's part of the group. Some of them had to leave a little earlier, but just an amazing opportunity to get to know them a little bit more and understand their purpose and why they're here in Sunnyvale. We have an amazing team here in Sunnyvale, and I can't wait to continue doing the work with them and collaborating with them in terms of moving forward. And then let's go to the next slide. And then, so I've been asked, like, well, what are we gonna do? What are you gonna do, Superintendent, right? So one of the things that I've been talking about, and just happens to be here in front of me, is we start off with this book called Clarity, but looking at how high-performing educational systems operate and what systems they need in place, right? So again, this is just a graphic that encompasses those things. So looking at revisiting some of these structures, policies, and systems in place, and how do we make refinements so that we can have a greater impact, not only for our kids that we have right now, but for future generations as well. And then the next slide is just yesterday's ribbon cutting ceremony, amazing facility. I want to thank our student speakers, Edwin and Luna, who did an amazing job. I want to recognize Mr. Cuffey and his team, who were out there making sure that everything was ready for the event. And, you know, people like Jeff, people like our custodians who were out there hustling and making sure that the facilities were ready to for this event. And of course, a big thank you to the City of Sunnyvale for their support, Fremont Union High School District and their trustees for coming out, and everybody that was involved in this. And of course, a huge thank you to the community for investing in our youth, for basically putting behind, right, is saying to our youth that we believe in you and here's what we're willing to do for you. So a big thank you to them, because this would not have happened without them. And of course, our board for having the vision to be able to do something like this, right? Because this is obviously, as has been said before, it's a lot of work behind the scenes, and for it to happen the way it did, ahead of schedule, on budget, and before it was expected to be ready. And to see the former 8th graders running around like little kids, super excited about the classrooms and the furniture, which just brought joy to my heart. So with that, I conclude my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so now we're on to item 8, which is comments from the Sunnyvale Education Association. If there's an official representative online, please use the raised hand feature if you wish to speak. None? Okay, not seeing any. Item 9, comments from the California School Employees Association. If there's an official representative online, please use the raised hand feature if you wish to speak. Also seeing none. Comments, item 10, comments from the Sunnyvale Education Foundation. If there's an official representative here, please use the raised hand feature. Also none. Okay, item 11, comments from the public. This is the time to comment about things that are not on the agenda. This portion of the agenda provides an opportunity for members of the public to directly address the governing board on any item of interest to the public. However, provisions of the Brown Act Government Code 54954.2a and .3 preclude any action being taken on any item not appearing on the posted agenda. Time limits allocated to public testimony are 3 minutes per person and 20 minutes in total for public comments. Speakers are asked to give their name and affiliation so that an accurate record is reflected in the minutes. We do have one blue card here for this item for Mr. Nicholas Negrete. If you are online and would like to also speak on this item, please use the raised hand feature now. Anyone else here in person, you may hand in a blue card. And let me just say one more thing. As a reminder, per our board bylaw 9323, the board shall not prohibit public criticism of its policies, procedures, programs, services, acts, or omissions. During public comment, we encourage speakers to discuss issues with civility, to treat people whose opinions differ from their own with respect, and to focus on ideas, policies, and value. Do we have anyone online? None, okay, so we just have one speaker here in person. Welcome, Mr. Negrete.
Yeah, Negrete.
Okay, Negrete, you have 3 minutes and you may go ahead.
Okay. Hi, my name's Nick Negrete. I've got a 6-year-old, 4-year-old, and 2-month-old. My 6-year-old will be attending first grade at Ellis. My 4-year-old was overflowed to TK at Bishop. I'm here to highlight that Regulation 5116, school attendance boundaries, can be discriminatory and does not align with your inter-district open enrollment policy 5116.1. Home-based enrollment is based on registration order, while your inter-district enrollment first prioritizes siblings, then requires a random, unbiased method is used. Time-based applications can have a disproportionate impact to racial or marginalized groups. This is due to individuals facing barriers in gathering paperwork due to factors like limited access to technology, lack of transportation, lack of access to healthcare, or inflexible work schedules. The intra-district enrollment process navigates around this bias. Why not align both policies? I'd like to see policy 5116 updated to prioritize keeping siblings together, then use an arbitrary, unbiased, random selection. Ellis recently completed construction. Seems like there was a lack of foresight to already run into capacity issues just 1 to 2 years later. The impact to my family is that I have to decide if I should uproot my first grader to enroll at Bishop or deal with 2 pickup and drop-off times, different admins, different after-school programs, school emails, etc. We're 11 days away and I can't even make this decision because I haven't seen any transportation details or school start and end times. That's the end of what I have. I've got a minute left. So I'll just say, I appreciate Dr. Crossway taking my one-on-one. I think that was probably like 10 days in. So I apologize for being the annoying parent, but this is something that's impacting me and appreciate everyone's time. So.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Negrete. We'll follow up with you on that too.
Thank you.
And we do have one more blue card. Okay. Thank you. We have Mr. Scott Victorine. Please approach the podium.
All right, hello everybody. My name is Scott Victorine. I am a teacher at within the Fremont Union High School District. I am not here on behalf of them, but I did want to welcome Dr. Crossway and probably take a little heat for this, but also a fellow Dodgers fan. So, but yes, I have a daughter who's now in this school district. I attended Sunnyvale Middle in Cumberland myself, so it's a special place for me. And just on behalf of myself and parents and educators as well, welcome to the district.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
30 seconds.
Okay, so we are on to item 12, which is a consent agenda items. Any item on the consent agenda is subject to review and discussion prior to being approved by the board. If necessary, any items may be removed for separate action. The public may address the board regarding any items on the consent agenda. Is there any member of the public present or online who wishes to make a comment on the consent agenda? If so, please submit a blue card and let us know, or use the raised hand feature to let us know which item you would like to pull from consent, to comment on it, or have a separate consideration to vote. Okay, seeing none. Board, would anyone like to pull anything, or do we have a motion? Peggy?
I'd like to pull item C, contracts from the consent agenda, please.
Okay. Board, do I have a second for approval of the consent agenda? So are you making a?
Oh, I can. I move to approve the consent agenda, besides, everything besides, item C, which I'd like to pull.
Do we have a second so that we can discuss item C?
I second.
Great. All those in favor of approving all items except for item C, the general contractor agreements, please say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, and that part of the consent agenda has passed. Peggy, why don't you, I guess we need to, for the purposes of discussion, make a motion to pass item C, to approve item C for the purposes of discussion. Do we have a motion for that, or?
Can I make that?
Okay, yeah, I move to approve item C for the purpose of discussion.
Second.
Great, okay.
Okay, so the reason I pulled this item is this is all the contractor agreements, the contracts that we have. And they are on consent, and there's some information that I would like to know more about the contracts in general, just I think in general going forward with contracts, I would like to see more information. Specifically about these, I was wondering about the after-school programs and which schools, at which school sites the FRRXA and YMCA, those after-school programs are at, as well as the Junior Museum and Zoo for City of Palo Alto. I do appreciate the new table that shows the department that is requesting the contract and also the funding source. But I would like to see more information in addition to those few, like the Math Institute of Wisconsin Coaching. I was wondering if this is a new or continued use of the service, who will the PD be provided to, other such things. So I'm not, I don't necessarily want to not approve anything today, but I'm just asking for more transparency and going forward with details.
Yeah, I would agree with that in terms of, you know, I understand we talked about maybe attaching the contract or something, but I think for me, it's more about like is it an in-out? You know, sometimes we approve a contract or we have an agreement with a museum or with a field trip provider, and the school is doing the paying for it, right? And so for us, even if it says it's coming out of budget line item 4234, like some long thing.
Yeah.
For me, it's just this is Bishop's first grade field trips, you know, or first grades all across the district are going to utilize this, and this opens up the contract for that, and schools will pay as they go, or whatever it is. Like that's just kind of helpful context information. Like, is it just one school? Is it multiple schools? I had similar questions about the Palo Alto and the after-school programming. Like, just where is it happening? You know, so that might be more of just a description, not just a full detail for me. I don't know. Yeah. Did anyone else, or does that seem reasonable, or is it?
Yeah, so that's definitely something that we can work on, because if you have those questions, the public may also have those questions. And there's definitely an opportunity for us to provide additional clarification, information in terms of like the schools that are being serviced aside from the budget, right? And then we could also, depending on what you want, we can also include more information in terms of like a breakdown of cost per kid or per school or per session. Because typically we are already requesting that information in contract proposals. And so we can easily include it on here as well.
Like, and I also think for things like science camp, you know, we're approving the paying the county for science camp. Just kind of giving us an idea of like, well, how much is it? You know, because we all had our kids go through at different times. So like, what's it at right now? You know, has it gone up? Has it gone down? Is it still $300? Is it $500? Like, what's that number?
Yeah,
you know?
and for things like that, we can put the total cost and then the costs that, let's say, the schools are contributing or the district office or family contributions, we can include those as well.
And I heard a question about science camp that it seems to have increased a lot this year. So That would be good to know.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not that we can do anything about it, but it would be good to know how much it's increasing.
Yeah, we'll work with our team to make some adjustments, come back to you, and then we appreciate you giving us the feedback so we can continue making those refinements.
Thank you. Yeah, for the science camp, it's particularly relevant because the Sunnyvale Education Foundation does fundraising, so as to cover some of those costs. So we want to make sure that our advertising and the marketing around that is also accurate. So appreciate that extra detail. Thank you.
Okay, are we ready to vote on this? All right, all those in favor of approving item C, please say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye and the motion passes. We're on to item 13A, which is review and action approving the school plans for student achievement, the SIPSAs. We have a whole bunch of people listed on the program, but I'm guessing it's starting with Dr. Dean from Teaching and Learning, Teaching and Learning Officer. So we'll start with you.
Yes, thank you. So we're bringing our student plan, student achievement for review. This is an annual compliance item for us. I also wanted to offer a bit of clarification. Yes, it does include a few team members because we do work on this in collaboration with fiscal services as well as with teaching and learning, and to be sure, one, our documents are compliant, but also to support our administrators in writing their plans so that they're clear about what they need to do, and they also have the support in writing compliant but also functional plans to lead their schools. So we're bringing the plans forth. It's an emphasis around and support for English language learners is a part of this. Also in collaboration with our school site council at each of the schools, also offer input and guidance to our principals, which helps them to finalize their actual school plans. In addition, in the plan, we have emphasis around the areas of attendance, which is the ATSI or CSI. For us, the emphasis has been the ATSI for some of the support of our schools. We have not been a part of the CSI, and we want to keep it that way. So we're coming to you this evening in order to approve our 2025-26 school plans for student achievement for each of our schools. And these plans are aligned with not only our local control accountability plan, but also with our strategic plan. And at this time, I would like to ask for your approval of the plans and also an opportunity to address any questions that you might have.
Thank you, Dr. Dean. Before we do that, and the board has discussion, we will first move to public comment. If there's any member of the public who would like to comment on this item, please use the raised hand feature. Or if you're in the room and you'd like to comment, feel free to send a blue card. Okay, seeing none, board, could we have a motion to approve? So we can discuss? Since this is review and
I move we approve the SIPSAs.
I second.
Great, all right, who would like to begin our conversation? We can start with Peggy, we can go down the line and then.
Okay, well, I'm very happy to have the SIPSAs on review and discussion, review and action today. They were last on our agenda as a consent item, and I felt like there wasn't much opportunity to look at school-specific data in a board meeting setting. And so I'm really happy that we're able to talk about this now. I guess in general, my general question is, how is the district supporting schools in making and supporting the plan making and also the follow through of the plans? And just wondering about the regularity, the alignment there, and wondering about seeing data throughout the year.
Yeah, great question. And this is one of the things that we've talked about in terms of how do we better support our school principals and align our data to make sure that it's consistent. And rather than having schools each individually work on their data, is what we want to do moving forward is give them the data and help them analyze the data and make sure that they're also engaged in conversations with their community, including staff and parents, so that they have that type of support. The other thing is we want to make sure that we have a clear timeline in terms of those expectations and how are we moving forward with supporting them along the way, so that it's not a big project that's due at the end of the year or whatever month it might be due, and then we're reviewing it and giving them feedback. But we wanna make sure that there's also opportunities for our schools to collaborate across the organization, especially our two middle schools, right, in terms of how they're working together. And how do we help them also share, like, these are some of the successful things that we use for parent engagement, for interventions, for making sure that we have good teaching from the very beginning. Because if we're having good things at one school that are making an impact, we need to make sure that those are also available to the rest of the students at other school sites as well. I hope that helps a little bit.
Were you wondering about process as well with the school site council and things like, I thought you had some questions around that.
Well, in terms of the data, are there other opportunities for us to review how schools are doing? And I've never approved SIPSAs before.
Yes.
So I'm just wondering about the process and the calendar, about where we're looking at data and the support at the school site level. I was on the school site council, and I know that I as a member of that group
Yes.
didn't feel like I had a lot of information from which to like make decisions about how to make goals for our school.
Yes.
It felt kind of like in a vacuum, so.
Yeah, so for me as a new superintendent here, I began the conversations with our leadership team in terms of data. And I know we wanna have a data conversation here with the board in a public way, so that it's transparent in terms of what are our strengths and where do we need to focus on, right, in terms of making an impact. But separately is, I wanna make sure that we have an opportunity to have a state of the district. And we're looking at potentially October 14th as a possible date. And that's another opportunity for us to share with the public about where are we as an organization in terms of our data, right? And then at the end of the year, I will also have another presentation in December of highlighting, the whole year, 2025, in terms of where we're at and then any additional data that we can have. But as we get closer to developing the budget and bringing forward the LCAPs for next June and board meeting, is we should have multiple opportunities to touch and have conversations about the data as well as our budget moving forward. So my recommendation is that we also try to have another one in the spring, but separately, it may also be a good opportunity for us to have another study session for us to dive deeper into those data. But how do we have consistency in terms of how do we tell the story behind the data? How do we build up our capacity across the organization so that all of our principals and parents and other community members are clearly able to see our data? And how do we put that on our website, for example? How do we encourage input from families in terms of the needs moving forward? And so data should not be a one-shot deal, not a one presentation. It should be ongoing throughout the year.
It seems that was actually one of my doubts and questions. I couldn't find when I was coming where I left it, but I tagged by color, and I was happy to be able to understand all the data that was there, and looking at the little color coded data for each school, were all over the place. But I wanted to understand then how differs the plan from one school to another depending on if they are in the red or if they are in the green. How exactly are we approaching that to take the ones that are in the red all the way to the green? So I couldn't see that story easily.
Yes.
Also for the 1,000 pages, but easy for me to understand. And of course, there is also the idea that we want to have a consistent plan for everybody. That is the school, how we do everything in the district, but I suppose that some needs more than others.
Correct.
And there should be some adjustment depending on where we are at. And there were also some doubts that I had about when I saw the two middle schools. It seems that they look like they have similar classes, like in ELD and in Spanish, and similar curriculum for the different levels of math, well, I always understood that they have different, somehow they have different populations and they have different amount of, well, and one of them has puntos of different levels of, for Spanish and Spanish learning and inclusivity. So I just wanted to know if that was just a strategy over both of them, or and they are actually different, or that was each of them have different classes?
Yeah, I'll defer to Dr. Dean in a second, but schools should have some consistency in how they develop their plans and what's included or expected to be in the plans. Unfortunately, the school plans, to your point, have become these lengthy documents that are really more about compliance now, but they should also, they do present an opportunity to communicate and engage the public in terms of where we're at and what our goals, right, including staff on campus. And I have been engaged in some conversations at the state level to try to go back to re-evaluating the format of the single plan so that they're more user-friendly and they're actual tools. And yes, the school should have some consistency, but because their data and their needs and their strengths are different, they also have that opportunity to have some autonomy and personalize what they're gonna do based on those needs. But in terms of like the other question, I'll defer to Dr. Dean.
I'm not sure I know exactly which programs you're referring to as it relates to the middle school, but while some of their population and demographics are a little bit different, our approaches to English language development are very consistent and aligned across both campuses. And I will say that our middle schools, an advantage of having only two is kind of forces collaboration, and they do collaborate very often on most programs across the district. So if you see some similarity, that's probably their communication and collaboration around those programs. But they have taken their unique data and applied it to their schools specifically and wrote their plan. So even if at first glance it looks like it may be the same, they are taking into consideration their actual data from their particular schools.
Michelle, do you have any thoughts on this?
I think the only thing I just kind of, as people were talking and I'm thinking back, I just remember, you know, my first couple of years on the board, right, as like, essentially anytime something new comes, it's like, what is my role in this? Like, what exactly is this purpose? Is it a compliance document? Is this a document where you using kind of all that stuff? And I know we did end up, I don't know what year it was, but we had, I don't know exactly study session, but kind of study session like thing to kind of learn about them better. And so that's kind of my wondering is maybe we want to have, I don't know if it's study session, maybe it's a good space at like one of our governance meetings to kind of talk about what is the SIPSA, what is board members' roles in the SIPSA, and just kind of go through some of that stuff. So that's just kind of a thought that I had. And then just circling back, I think you maybe got this, Peggy, but I think from my understanding, data from schools, like diving into that, like SIPSA is not the space to do that, like these other spaces.
Mm-hmm.
But I could be wrong, right? But that would just be my, like, that is an important thing, but we would do that at other times, not necessarily SIPSA. But again, like if we had a bigger discussion, like maybe I'm wrong on that, maybe SIPSA is a good time to
I
do
think
it.
she meant for her school site.
No, I
Or
meant like
all the
in
time.
general, like during the year, when do we get to look at data? And I thought that having this opportunity for SIPSAs to talk about school sites was a good opportunity to ask that question. What other times will we be able to look at data? But piggybacking off of what you said, what is our role in SIPSAs? I'm also interested in our role in the alignment with the strategic plan and LCAP and SIPSAs, and how we can better understand that outside of the compliance aspects of it, but in terms of what are we as a community, a greater community, or each school sites, what's the narrative there? What are we working on? What can we be proud of? And how can we share those within ourselves?
Evelyn, do you have any, oh, I'm sorry, Michelle, were you doing something? Evelyn, do you have any comments or thoughts on that? Okay, so I had a couple things. First of all, I think this is one of the documents that a few years ago, Dr. Valentine worked on to make more cohesive. I think she did that with the safety plans and she did that with the SIPSAs and some other things where they do have more common language than before, but I'm related, I was definitely nodding along to what everyone was saying because I do think that the differences school to school, I can imagine that for a school site council receiving information just about their school, it would be very difficult to say like, well, what's our goal based on this? Because you're not really sure what's happening in other schools that might be similar to you. Not necessarily every school, but maybe, maybe there's a buddy situation that could happen or something like that. But, or in relationship to like how overall our district is performing, like this is your school and this is what the data means and just giving you a deeper understanding of that. But I was thinking, I focused in on the 2 middle schools because, well, just in general, for all of them, I want to say I really do enjoy the reflection piece of it. It's clear that the principals and their teams take a minute and they say, this is how we thought the year was going to go. And these are all the things we tried, and these are the initiatives that we were able to complete, and these are the initiatives that we could not get to, or are just incomplete or they're a work in process. So I really appreciate that like reflection on the year. But then for the 2 middle schools, I was looking at how they were approaching the next year, and I was reading through their reflections on the year, and I was just getting more and more alarmed, just because I was thinking to myself, how can we ensure if we have a school that like last year in the SIPSs, it says all of CMS was in the orange, right? And like for both language arts and for math. And then for the middle school, SMS had some groups that were in the red or the orange. Some significant student groups. And so I was thinking about it, and then when I was looking at the outcomes, they said, well, we wanted to offer after school tutorials, but no teacher signed up for it. Like it didn't happen. So we had a school of 1,000 students where we had hundreds of students who were below grade level, and we might have had other groups coming in and we had things coming in from the high school, but we had no intervention available for them because it was elective based on teacher sign up. And I think like for me, that raises an alarm for me because it makes me think like maybe the incentives aren't good enough, right? Or maybe like we had talked a couple years ago where CMS was talking about experimenting with scheduling so that some teachers' days would be staggered so that they would be available for the after school kind of part of the day. So I just think that would be an opportunity. So how can we ensure that things that we know that we need, like extended time, even though I agree that we have to make sure that our in-class time is useful. But if you have a student, the middle school teachers have like 120, 150 students, they have each of them for either 50 minutes or maybe a longer block every other day, depending on their schedule. They do not have the time to get that kid caught up if that kid is 150 points below standard, which is a couple of grade levels. They just are not going to be able to get that kid caught up, and that kid's probably below standard in a couple of different areas. So we have to have systems for extended time built in. So how can we as a district ensure that we have those after school supports that are in our school plan that happens? Then the second thing was that I saw with the school plans were things like at CMS, we hear over and over, the concern for parents, like at middle school overall, is bullying, right? Bathroom safety, bullying. And just walking in the hallway, bullying. And like, whatever it means to parents, someone said something mean, is it actual bullying? There's all sorts of systems, but nobody wants their kid to be bullied. But the restorative justice piece that was in the school plan it didn't happen last year, it happened like intermittently. And it was not clear to me that it was going to be happening the next time. Or they said, culturally responsive teaching, we want to do training so that we have culturally responsive teaching, so that all students feel really welcome. It didn't happen. Maybe there's no money for the training, but that's what's dropping off. And I'm just concerned that even we're getting a snapshot of reality, of how things went, or what was the other one? Oh, the strategic plan, both school principals, when the strategic plan came out, both middle school principals were very excited about the idea of student-led conferences. They were pumped about it. And then they said, well, for whatever reason, it was in SMS's plan, it was not in CMS's plan. For student-led conferences is a way to show child-directed learning. So the principal wrote in the plan at his end of year reflection that they had $15,000, $14,000 something set aside to pay teachers to do student-led conferences as a pilot. They were planning on matching it through the Ed Foundation grants and matching it through PTA. So that's like $30,000 of money, pot of money sitting there. They had no teachers take them up on it, not one teacher in the school. And that's just so disappointing because it's foundational of like what we wanted to do. So if it can't happen after school, so rather than just eliminating that from the school plan, is there a way to say, okay, it didn't work after school, maybe if that's something that we think is really important, that we find a way to do restorative justice, we find a way to do student-led learning, that we build these things into other parts of our thing and not just say, well, we're not gonna do item number E. If it's really a core thing that we're trying for. So that's what I would be interested in, like having a conversation about, like at a later date, like about, for these initiatives that we wanna try, that we think as a district are important, how do we support them so that they actually happen at the school site? Even when we learned it didn't work the first year that we tried it, So, and then my other thought was, I saw a couple things on there that I didn't really understand. Like for CMS, for example, it said, one thing that we're doing is we're gonna have less families access onto campus. And I didn't understand if that was like less family events because they were focusing on academics, or if there were less families, like if there was a reason, or I just didn't understand, some of the questions in there. And then I was hoping, I know it's a compliance issue that we list that there are children, the children with special needs are in the, they're performing below grade level standard. Those are students with IEPs, if they're listed on there, or is it 504s and IEPs, or is it?
If it's special ed, it's not 504s unless they have a 504 and special ed.
So special ed would be students with IEPs.
That is correct.
Okay, so I think that, like for me personally, I understand that we need to make a plan, but the students with IEPs have a pretty detailed phone book size plan of like how they're gonna meet their goals incrementally. And it's tailored like on a whole spectrum of needs, right? So they have like, the learning goals are very tailored to that child. So for me, I was wondering, for all these other students that we have, for the English language learners, our Hispanic students, do we have any, is there any thought of creating you know, an individual language plan for them, or like an academic recovery plan for them. For those students who are far below grade level, how do we move them to grade level? And last but not least, was a question about transparency. I had a talk with Principal Iwasaki just in passing after the ribbon cutting ceremony. And we were talking about the SIPSAs, and you know, Q said, oh, I haven't gotten around to it, but I really want to understand the relationship of their grades with the CASP scores. Because if parents don't have any idea how far below standard their kids are receiving grades that are, you know, approaching is like a 3, right? Or
No, that'd be a 2.
is it 2? And meet standard is a 3 and above is a 4? Or is it a 3, 4? What is the, what is
It is
the?
the three you were
It's a
saying.
3.
Three.
Approaching is a 3, and meets or above is a 4. So if I'm a normal human adult that is not in education, and I think, okay, a 4 is an A, a 3 is a B, and a 2 is a C, and a 1 is a D. And I'm thinking my kid has all 3s. I'm thinking my kid's doing pretty good, but my kid is approaching. So where does that put them on the CASP? Like how do our CASP scores correlate to the grades that we're giving our students? How aware are parents? How do they interpret that CASP score that they get over the summer? So, you know, those are all things I was like thinking about just looking at the 2 schools. And I don't think those are questions that get answered by reviewing the SIPSAs. I think those are like bigger questions for like how we as a district like manage our own expectations of ourselves, right? So I'm grateful that they have reflection, but I'm a little kind of just alarmed by, you know, how it's shaken out so far.
Yeah. I just remember that in the last few years, we talked a few times as a board and in governance that to put in the calendar, somehow it has been too complicated and never happened. To put in the calendar a roundtable with leadership in middle schools together and try to move forward, both middle school together, seeing the good things, talking to each other, see how they can help each other and what they want, what are the proposals to improve. Somehow try to make a roundtable with the board and with the principals and somehow leaderships. And I think we have been saying that for 2 or 3 years because I was the president at the time, but there was always complications and there was never time, but just wanted to put it out there.
Especially because now we have the Sunnyvale Promise, where we're promising to get them ready for high school and beyond, right? So if we promise to get you ready for high school and you're in middle school and we're not there, like how do we get you there, you know, in the short time we have with you in the last part of your career? And then there's also on the SIPSAs, the other thing about when we get into the regular data meeting, on the SIPSAs, you know, what doesn't show up and what's kind of invisible, and when schools used to come and present their data one at a time, we would run into the same thing we would see on the SIPSAs, where there are those groups of kids that are minorities, where there's only a handful of unhoused kids or foster youth or African American students, or these small populations, but overall, it's a large enough group where we could look at the data for them. But if we just go school by school, then it's just like no information, right? We can't tell you information because it could identify somebody. So I think when we do our data meeting, if we make sure we get those smaller student groups with needs that we can really take a look at. Because when we did the strategic plan, we saw a lot of red in areas that we hadn't seen when we did it school by school. It's not in the SIPSA booklet. Mm-hmm. So those are my thoughts. So I would love to get just a visioning session with both middle school teams, maybe we could talk about putting that on the calendar. But this is a compliance measure, this does need to be approved by September or something?
Well, there's no strict timeline, to be honest with you, but my recommendation is, given the timing of the year, if we were to send it back to the schools to meet with their staff and with their parents, and then wait for it to come back for board back in October, it will impact some of the programs or plans that they have in place.
I'm not interested in doing that. I know that these were written in the spring, and these are plans that the schools are ready to launch with, right? I guess my question is more around how are we as a district supporting the schools throughout the year so that we don't get to a point, for example, with the student-led conferences, where they just weren't able to do it because of the resources, and we didn't know about it until the reflection a year later.
Or the no tutoring, I mean.
Absolutely, and the resources and the desire was there, but it didn't happen. And then it just turns out to be like, just a reflection, a disappointment. But there must have been points in between where like there could have been a little bit more support in order to make that happen, to support the schools in doing in following through on their vision of what would support students, because they do know best, they should know best.
May I just add something? So just based on that too, is working with our team to figure out how we do a check-in with them, so that's not till the end of the year with the reflection, but that we can also provide that monitor and make some adjustments in terms of pivoting resources as well.
Yeah, and I am not, I personally, like after reading this, I am not gonna go hammer on anybody to go do student-led conferences if that did not happen, if that is happened for a reason. But I really feel that this board has discussed a bunch of times about the importance of getting targeted tutoring and the importance of restorative justice practices. And I really feel like that those should be strongly pursued, and if they've been cut out of their plans because they're just thinking that that's just one more thing they have to do, I don't know how we're gonna make the progress that we wanna make, or that we're going to make an impact on students' lived experiences at school if we don't lean into some form of restorative justice and intervention, exactly, thank you. So I mean, I would hope, that would be my only, I'm not saying go back and revise everything, but as you're talking to principals and stuff, I would just hope that comes back in the, I mean, is that just me, or are we board, are we still in agreement on that, or? Isabel's saying yes, Evelyn's not.
Peggy's saying yes.
Peggy's saying yes, Michelle, what do you think?
Well, I want staff to decide if that's the priority, right? Like, I mean, so if staff also agrees that that is the focus, then yes. But if staff thinks something else is the focus to help move the needle, I would go with what I would support what staff wants to do. But I don't think it's a bad thing, like, right? Like, these things are not, these are good things, that's not.
May I add something?
Please, yeah.
So we also have the governance calendar coming up on the next item.
Yeah.
And that's another opportunity for us to look at the governance calendar and figure out like where would be appropriate times for us to engage in some of these conversations. But also it's like, okay, what will make the impact, right? And like how much do we want to get into the development of the single plans, knowing that it's a compliance item.
Yeah.
We're supposed to go through the process. But to your points earlier about how do we provide that support and guidance, and how do we check in with them in terms of like, hey, we're having a hard time finding teachers for this tutoring program, and how can we be creative in supporting them so that they are able to provide those additional supports for students.
Okay, well, Let's do that. Let's talk about it at the governance thing. Let's vote on this. All those in favor to approve the SIPSAs, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, chair votes aye. We approve that thing. Go team.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for all the hard work on that. Okay, we're on to item 14, review and discussion. So we're review and discuss the governance calendar. Dr. Cressway.
Do they have a hard copy of the governance calendar that we have?
I don't know, Brandon.
Yeah, can we get some hard copies for them so that they can read, but basically it's an opportunity executive team has gone through the governance calendar draft to make sure that any required items are on the calendar as needed, for example, LCAP, budget presentations, but also things like employee recognitions. We wanna make sure that we make space for things like that, but also in terms of some of the discussion that you were having earlier about supporting schools, right? But also for you, professional development for you in terms of what are some of the things that you would like to see. Earlier was mentioned about perhaps training on single plans and the purpose and roles of the single plans, right? So with that, we'll get you hard copies right now, but it's just a good opportunity for us to be a little clearer in terms of what we want to bring forward to you for discussion topics, professional development, any data points or other presentations that you may need as well. And it's a lot, so we won't be able to put everything in there, but we gotta be strategic about what we want to prioritize as well, if that helps.
Okay, so
Quick comment, I
Jeremy, yes.
apologize, just for clarification, I apologize that there's some cells on it that are green, that was my notes to myself as I went through and I forgot to clear them before that, so the green means nothing, I apologize.
Thanks, Jeremy. We'll know it means
Now
Jeremy.
we know.
Okay, now we know.
Just for clarity.
Now we know. And it's kind of a nice teal.
Thank you.
It's fine. Okay, so now it's time for public comment. If any member of the public wishes to comment on this item, please use the raise hand feature now or submit a blue card if you're in the room. Okay, seeing none, board, we do not need a motion to begin discussing. Would anyone like to start the discussion?
So what we see on the agenda right now is this just a carryover of what we've previously seen?
Yes.
Like from this past school year. And so that was brought in and now we wanna see what else we want to discuss. Is that the purpose of this right here, right now in this meeting? Okay, but all the things that are populated currently are things that
Not
have
everything is
to?
on there. Not everything is on there from our list.
Okay, I mean, in terms of like the compliance aspect of the like reports that need to be reviewed at a certain time or like the interim reports. All of that is
The
already
LCAP,
populated.
Williams, things like
Yeah,
that.
we have our
The budget
items
stuff.
that we have to have and
Okay.
when they should be on there as well.
Okay,
Well, I think connected to that, what I was curious is we have, and I think it's held in our governance handbook, but somewhere the governance the calendar, not the clock is that other thing. But the calendar, right, that isn't like detailed of like this exact meeting, we're doing this specific thing, but it has those, I think when you're talking about those general, like LCAP review happens in March or I mean, it's not into then, but whatever, right, like,
Yeah.
there's that calendar, so maybe that's what we're asking, is everything from that calendar on here? Cause that would kind of have all the things, that are like, we have to do, and then also just our practices, right, like our board self-evaluation, like that doesn't technically have to happen, but that's something we choose to do, right, so that would be on that governance calendar, and we usually do that in November, which I mean, that is on here, but. So I guess that's my only question, is did we pull everything from that?
I see the
Onto-
board organization on there and I see the, so like, for example, in November, we typically have the board organization discussion. And then we vote on it in December, right?
Yeah.
And then it takes effect in January. And then, the LCAPs are listed under the review and discussion and then review and action, like it goes back and forth between the columns. So anyone else wanna do further questions? Do you wanna ask if we can print out the page that you're talking about from the handbook?
I don't really care about us going through it, that just like, if they've gone through it to make sure everything on that is captured here.
And may I also make a recommendation, this isn't the final,
Yeah.
right? So if you have feedback, you can email me directly. And then I can work with President Watson to figure out the best time for us to address those potential topics. One of the other things that you may also want to consider is an opportunity for a presentation on facilities, right? Given the bond and be transparent with the public about the progress and timelines. And I know we have a separate COC, but as a board, you may also want to consider having a separate committee for facilities that meet more regularly than the COC to get updates and to be able to share that information out with the public as well. Another meeting.
And that would be at the, would we wait until November to do that, or?
Well, yeah, that's
that
for
would be
you
the
to
idea.
consider, and then we would try to figure out as a team when would be a good time for us to present that without overloading a meeting with other topics as well. And then separately, my other recommendation is, today we were able to do the recognition for Cherry Chase. There's a lot of amazing programs, staff who are doing great things, right? So how do we also, moving forward, look at recognizing more of our staff, our students throughout the year as well?
How can we identify those people to be celebrated?
Yeah, so we're working on that and we're reaching out to principals. Aaliyah is also taking a lead on those efforts. And we also want to develop some parameters and some language so that people are clear as to when we're going to do these recognitions. But we're open to your feedback and hearing from you in terms of some of the programs or services, staff that we can also recognize throughout the year.
Is the idea to do it at every meeting or like once a month? Like I know we kind of started it in the spring, the plan then was once a month we would do it, so about every other meeting.
Yeah, it depends on who we have to recognize, right? So we're not gonna just recognize to recognize, but who we're recognizing and also just the tenor of our board meetings as well.
In addition to the facilities report, and perhaps subcommittee around that, so for more regular updates, in your 5 weeks here, have you noticed any other areas where you feel like we could use some more, just conversation around our presentation?
I think the other areas that are always important, budget, staffing, special ed, right? The data you've already brought up, I mean, those are 5 different meetings right there alone, so that's a lot on top of everything else that we already have on here for consideration as well.
So can we put those in, like, what, is this the time to do that, or, I mean, is that like, that's based on?
Yeah, this is just a conversation, there's my understanding, right? No action taken on any of these things right now.
Okay.
Okay, I'm not quite following, are you saying create additional meetings for discussions for all of those things?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, only for
Cause I was gonna say, I don't
only
think I like that.
only for facilities is what I'm
Okay.
recommending.
And then the facilities one, because I kind of feel like, that's not feeling. It seems to me that we get about twice a year, it seems like there's one in the fall and one in the spring that we get.
And mid-year too, we got one from
Updates
Brent.
on, so yeah, so it seems to me that we are already getting updates on the construction and things that are happening. So I personally don't feel like we need to get more than what we have been getting,
That's great
but
to
others
hear.
might feel differently.
Yeah, I just didn't see it on the calendar.
Yeah,
So let's just make sure that it's on here as well.
yeah, and I think a lot of that's because I think Brant's usually pretty on top of Brant's like, hey, we're doing all these awesome things, I wanna share with the
Yes.
board. And so maybe it's actually more than twice a year that we've been getting them.
Good, yes.
I guess I get it, cause he also gives the busing transportation updates too.
Yeah, okay.
Bridget, did you have something different?
Well, I think that we've gotten them because we've had a few things that have come up where they've needed some feedback from the board like particularly on multi-use bathrooms or things that they. So we had a, you know, and then at the same time, like we've been looking at our transportation and other stuff. So I think we've gotten some things, but then there were other things where, you know, we didn't get an update on, like the, that was kind of decided in the, it was decided in the bond committee. Like I mentioned it to Isabel that I was surprised, and she's like, oh yeah, we talked about that a while ago, and I'm like, no, like we haven't, the rest of the board hadn't been informed about it, and you know, that we were going from a remodeling to a new building, and like just that whole change. And like for things like, what does the front of a building look like? Like I would really like to see that.
And we didn't even see
That did come
the
to the board.
process. No, but that came later after everything was decided. I remember we had a discussion in one of the bond committees that after the remodel got to be, it was cheaper to make a new building because then, I don't know, the percentage of things that were gonna be different, it was too big anyway. And the district architect wasn't gonna accept it as a remodel, so it was gonna be a new building. So they decided to throw it away, but I never saw the process, and then they brought us the new project, completely different, used to approve in consent agenda, and that was like, wow, what happened here, like.
So I think that could be refined a little bit so that we get that, especially when we're talking about like, hey, what does the front of the building look like, stuff like that. So because I still would like to know, because when we had the original design for the remodeled building, we got to see the you know, the kind of the design layout, like when you walk up, it looks like this. So things like that. And then you know, I really do love the idea of a middle school envisioning, just a conversation. We don't have to decide anything. And then when we work these things out, like I think we had talked last year, we kind of had one meeting where it was all the programs of choice and school focuses together. And lots of parents were interested and showed up at that meeting. And then because it was everyone all together, it wasn't enough to satisfy the community, I think. And we didn't get to really go deep enough into like really understanding them. So I think if we do, over the course of next year, revisit our school focuses and programs of choice, I think we should break them out. Just so we can go deeper, because I know people will be interested. And as far as celebrations, I'm excited for celebrations. You know, we've been to other districts where they really lean into having a celebration for like at a district level for students who are reclassified, reclassification. And we have, you know, we have a theater, we have like LSA, we have other places. It would not have to be here, but some sort of a reclassification ceremony. I don't think all the celebrations belong in a board meeting because we have a lot of business in some of our things. But I love the idea of district level celebrations for some of that stuff. But then as far as bringing students in and celebrating what's going on at the schools in our meetings, I think that's fantastic. And you know, I would love to see some of the quieter work also recognized, you know, like our classified staff. I would love to see some of the parent volunteers. I would love to see some of our, you know, make sure that our programs for like maybe some of our family groups, the work that goes on in programs like Strive, you know, I think those would be some great areas to highlight because they're invisible. A lot of people don't know that they're happening. Yeah. And if there's like a way to elevate them and do something for them, I think that'd be really fun. But I'm open to anything, and I'm just excited that we're gonna do it. And then we have, when Dr. Crosthwaite and I meet with Peggy and we go through all the things that were already on our list, for discussion, it's a matter of like when the teams can
Yes.
get that work together.
Yeah, I'm really interested in bringing this Juntos advisory committee earlier. Right now it's in December as a study session, the Juntos program goals and family engagement. And I know that's a call that families have been making to be more involved and be in conversation with the district about the program for their students and the purpose and where we're going with that. So I'd like to see that happen earlier than December, as well as those school focuses that are kind of ambiguous right now, like the Vargas and Lakewood, specifically Fairwood, right? And Bishop, we have something going and we have an employee, right? So, but I'm really curious about, is this going well? Are we supporting them as well, you know? And also with Bishop, what is the theory, right? What's the theory of action there? What do we expect to happen because we have this new person providing these classes? I don't think we really had that discussion, so I'm curious about how we can collect data around that, how we can show that it's working or not working. You know, that's the question about, I think, all of our school focus and programs of choice is, are we doing what we want it to do? Is it like, and how do we know that?
Or just a check-in.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the other thing. I think if we had some of these as discussion items or presentations that were opportunities for the board just to see where things are. I don't think it has to be like, this is what we've decided, this is our plan, this is our recommendation going forward. It could be like, this is the status of where we're at, you know, this is, we're feeling a little lost here and, or we're building momentum around this interest area.
Yeah, I'd really rather not have that this is what we decided presentations, because I feel like that's happened before. And then I felt like, was there an opportunity to input? I didn't feel like there was an opportunity for the board to input on things that were already decided, now coming to us on the agenda, like, now it's time for you to prove it, but I'm just learning about it, you know? So like, I think more opportunities to engage, just to learn more or for updates, that is of interest to me.
You touch a topic that is not here and I think is important. We do every once in a while and we should keep doing that. Touch on programs of choice. The goals, how are they doing? How have they improved? Yes. Are they doing what they want to do? Why not, etc. So a study session on them.
Yeah, and I'm really stuck on the name for the October 9th meeting, that it's a governance data meeting, because typically our governance meetings are not broadcast. They're not translations available upon request, but they are not recorded and in the same way. And I really would like to have that strategic plan update meeting and the data meeting. I would really like to have that with public view. I think that's really important. So if maybe it's just not called a governance data meeting, it's just a regular board meeting where we have one topic and it's a study session for the whole meeting, and it's, you know, because I think if we call it a governance meeting, then later people might say, well, you recorded that one, but you're not recording other ones, and, you know,
We want to differentiate what a governance meeting, but the governance ones are more casual.
Okay.
Yeah. Generally public's welcome, but they're generally more for us as opposed to like things like data would be very important to everybody.
And another reason to bring in like the Juntos meeting earlier would be, you know, last year we were asking the questions around efficacy of the Juntos program, and, you know, if it is making a difference compared to our programming for the non-Juntos students at the same school, at San Miguel in particular. So, you know, for December, is December, if we do that in December, is that enough time to make plans for the following year? If we wanted to change things, or if the data is telling us, or the recommendation is to begin to shift things, you know, what is that? Is that enough time?
By the way, when I was talking about school of choice, or I think we gave it a different name.
School focus and program of choice.
Yeah, focus.
Both.
It's a better name. They don't, it's not about Juntos, it's about the other schools that we have.
Right, like Fairwood, Lakewood, Vargas, and Bishop.
And Bishop, exactly.
Yeah, if it's whole school.
Yes, exactly. And so we can have a special day for Juntos and then a special day for the other schools.
Yes.
Okay, and then for the superintendent evaluations, we just, like, we had a conversation last spring. Someone, I don't know if it was Evelyn or Peggy, one of them went to the Masters in Governance, and there was, I mean, you both finished it, bravo for you. But I think someone came back and they said like, well, I think you shared that some districts have superintendent evaluation on every agenda, just so that they can talk about it and check in about superintendent goals. So what did you do at your other district? Did you just stick to when it was like an actual evaluation, or?
Yeah, so typically it would be during the summer at a regular board meeting for closed session. And that's when we established the goals and metrics for the evaluation. And then we would touch base around September, October again. And then the evaluation was back on the agenda, typically about 3 to 4 meetings in a row from January through early March.
Mm-hmm.
So there's multiple conversations leading up to the final evaluation.
Okay.
And I think when we used to meet the presidents of, when I was president of Cupertino and Fremont Union High School, I think Fremont, they do something that once a month they have something they call a superintendent evaluation. But as I understand, it's similar to our Friday reports, where he just reports what's going on and brings everything that has to do or with facilities or with something important that month, but they have it built in. So it's a report of the superintendent to the board of something that he deems important to be during closed session.
Okay.
But that was, I think Cupertino does that, which is a different model. I don't know, just putting it out there. It's not that I want it, it's just.
They do it differently. We do it through weekly updates and.
Yeah, exactly. It's just they do it differently.
Okay.
I say we haven't heard from Evelyn. I know like you're new to all this, but do you have any thoughts or questions or? Trying to absorb everything.
It's a lot.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, great. So I think we hashed it out. I think we'll be able to start putting things on there. And then will we still have access to, like last year, it was view only, but we could see what was coming ahead for future meetings. Will we have access to this like in soft copy again, like last year?
You only got?
View only? Okay. Cause that's kind of helpful, so you can see like what's next on the agenda. Okay. Anything else? No. Okay, great. Excellent. So we are on to item 15, which is information. Information agenda, the Williams Uniform Complaint Settlement Quarterly Report is looking really good. So that is information that's available on the agenda. Item 16 is future meetings and adjournments. Our next meeting will be Thursday, is that correct? Thursday, August 21st, right? At 6 p.m. It will be a governance meeting here at the district office. This meeting is adjourned at 8:31 p.m. Thank you. Yay, done.
Thank you, Angela. Thank you, Maritza.
Thank you. Have a great evening.
Thank you.